Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thunder Today podcast. I am your host, Dylan Hibbard, and in today's episode, we're going to go over a few topics ranging from the Pacers being able to slow down SGA, if that's even possible, and what that might look like with the series going forward. We're going to kind of look ahead to Tyrese Haliburton's aggressiveness throughout this series and why he needs to be more aggressive if the Pacers want to come back in this and have a chance to win. And we also have a third option for OKC. Who is that third most important player for OKC outside of Shea and J-Dub? And we'll kind of dive into that. And then at the end, I'll kind of give you my thoughts and predictions on Game 3. But looking back, we're going to kind of dive into how the Pacers kind of have approached SGA and how to kind of contain him and or stop him. And I mean, you can try to throw whoever you want, kind of throw a zone man, kind of whatever defensive sequence you want at SGA. He's still going to do whatever he wants when he wants. So this question of can the Pacers stop SGA or what can they do, you can only do so much to players of this caliber. And you have players like your Jokic's, your Giannis's, Luka, Shea, Tatum, where you can do whatever you want. You can throw whatever you want at them. They're still going to get theirs. And SGA is the epitome of that. It just feels like you can throw three of your best defenders at. You can throw double teams. Shea's going to end up somehow getting that mid-range, or he's going to end up driving with that layup or end up at the free throw line. So for me, you saw a lot of Matherin on Shea. You get a lot of Nembhard, obviously, because Nembhard's their best wing defender, at least. And you're kind of just rotating those two on him. You'll occasionally see an Obi Toppin, but not too much. And Nembhard, for me, Nembhard's done a decent job on him. I mean, as much as you can on a guy like SGA. And then you had Matherin, who was Pacers fans thought that would be the secret to kind of slowing him down, and then you put him on him in game 2 and he's kind of bumping him. Shea's still getting to his spot, and then hand right in his face, Shea's still making those buckets. So I don't know if there really is anything the Pacers can do. I mean, as bad as it sounds, I mean, you kind of just have to let Shea do what he can and just try to minimize everybody else's offensive game. You looked back at game 1 and Shea did what he wanted to. He scored, but his assist numbers were low, and you end up winning that game, keeping it close and winning that game. Whereas in game 2, Shea did the same thing on the scoring end, but he also had 8 assists in there where he was getting guys involved, and that got the Thunder's ball movement even more going, and that causes problems for the Pacers. If you look at game 2, the Thunder had 5 players in double digits. You had Shea, you had Caruso with 20, J-Dub with 19, Wiggins with 18, and then Chet with 17. So the Pacers run into a problem where if you're letting 4 or 5 guys on OKC score double digits, with Shea being one of those who's dropping 30 plus, and then you have a guy like J-Dub or Caruso or a Chet dropping 20, the Pacers aren't going to keep up with the Thunder with how good the Thunder's defense is. And that kind of gets me into my second point of, if the Pacers want to get back in this series and kind of get their offensive going, Tyrese Haliburton has to be a lot more aggressive early on in the game. We talked about it last video. Tyrese only had 2 points in the first half, and by the end of the third, he only had 5 points. And if you're the guy on a NBA Finals team, you cannot have 5 points 3/4 of the way through an NBA Finals game. I don't care how much they're doing on you, how much defense they're showing you, how many looks they're showing you, double teams. You have to get to the basket more. Granted, he was shooting the 3 a lot in the game, but whenever your shot's not falling, he only made 1 3 in the first 3 quarters. When you're shooting 1 for 6, 1 for 7 from 3, you got to find out a different way to be effective in this game, not just setting on the outside, chucking up leaner threes. And for Tyrese, I don't know what that looks like because, I mean, with the Thunder's defense, you can say, yes, Tyrese needs to be more aggressive, but when you have five different guys, three of them coming off the bench that you can throw at him and show different looks and different schemes, it's kind of hard. But for me, Tyrese just has to get downhill more. He's been, at least in game two, it looked like he was just kind of settling for that three, hoping that three would fall. And maybe that does work tomorrow in game three when he's at home and he's more comfortable. So we'll kind of see how he approaches game three. I'm sure he's going to come out fired. They're going to be on their home court. Indiana's going to be hyped up. So it's the Thunder's job to, if you see Tyrese trying to get aggressive early, don't start fouling, don't be stupid on the defensive end. Let him continue to drive, because honestly, from the Thunder's perspective, it's not the worst idea to kind of just let Tyrese kind of just score and then minimize your Siakams, your Toppins, your Aaron Nesmith, because Nesmith had a very solid game too. I know it kind of went under the radar because the Thunder just kind of dominated, but I would not be surprised if the Pacers run Nesmith out there for 40-plus minutes this next game if it's close, because he was a very underrated player in game two. It just didn't get the recognition that it should have. But overall, I think Tyrese's aggressiveness needs to change at least. We're going to see how it changes in game three, and that will give us a lot of, if he's trying to be aggressive and it's still just the Thunder's defense is so good, then that's another story. But you have to have more than 2.5 points in an NBA Finals game, and I have no doubt that he will. So I'm interested to see how the Thunder approach that, how Tyrese comes out and plays, whether they, early on in those first three possessions the Pacers has, maybe they run a pick and roll and try to get Tyrese Haliburton going, or they kind of stick to their game plan where they drive in, kick it to those corner threes, and live off of those threes. So we'll see how that goes for the Pacers. And then another point I want to bring up is the possibility of, or who is the third most important player on the Thunder. I've been seeing this go around for a few days, kind of since the finals has started, because your first and second options, they're always going to be your top two guys in the playoffs, your most important guys. You're going to have your SGA, your guy who you rely on, and then your secondary star, and that would be J-Dub for the Thunder. So you know who your top two guys are. And like in the last video, I said Chet is the biggest X factor, but does that mean he's necessarily the third most important player? Not necessarily. And when you kind of look at this series and you look at who's contributed on the Thunder, who's played the big minutes, and when those minutes come up, who's been the most important out there, who's made the most impact. And for me, it's no doubt Alex Caruso. And I started noticing Caruso. I think everybody noticed how impactful Caruso could be in that Denver Nuggets series. You kind of saw it. Obviously, in Game 7, he guarded Jokic most of the game, so that's when most of the national media started to notice that. But for us Thunder fans, we kind of noticed that early on in that Thunder series. He started hitting the big threes. He's locking down Jamal Murray, their best guard. And to me, Caruso's just, whenever you're game playing for the Thunder, you worry about the big three of Shea, J-Dub, Chet, and you're like, we minimize those guys, we're fine. But with Caruso coming off the bench, and now the way the Thunder are running it, when you're having Caruso and Hartenstein coming off the bench, Caruso and Hartenstein are running a pick and pop where Hartenstein's making those insane passes to Caruso and the Pacers are leaving Caruso out there on the three. And like you saw in game 2, Caruso had 20 points. So, and not only is Caruso contributing on the offensive end, which is even better, you're getting him for his defense. So if he gives you anything offensively, it's just gravy on top of everything. So to me, Caruso's probably the third most important player in the series, just because he will guard your Haliburtons, your Nimhards, your McConnells, stuff like that. And I still believe Chet's the X factor in this series, that if the Thunder want to win this series, he has to play well. And I know it kind of sounds the same, like Caruso's the third most important player, but Chet's the X factor. There's a little bit of a difference there. And I fully believe that Chet is the X factor. And I think he is and can be the second best player on the Thunder even next year if he stays healthy. And I kind of want to throw this idea out there. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but the idea of possibly trading Chet, because you're looking at a thing where you have all of next year's your last year before you pay J-Dub and Chet. And if you have Chet have another bad year and not another bad year, excuse me, another injured year where he's not healthy the entire season, do you look at possibly trading Chet with that knowledge, knowing that he hasn't, granted he had all of last year healthy, and if he's healthy all of next year, I'm so for signing Chet, because you don't get a player like Chet that comes around this like once in a lifetime type thing. And J-Dub's going to get his max now. He's an all-NBA player, all-star. He's going to get paid, and he's shown he can stay healthy. So it was just an idea I've kind of thought about, like if the Thunder, if Chet struggles to stay healthy again, if the Thunder look at that possibility of maybe at the trade deadline doing a massive trade for Giannis with Chet involved. But we'll go more into that as we go into the off season and kind of get more information on that. And finally, we're gonna kind of look at what my predictions are for Game 3. This is a very interesting game to me. We're going to see if the Thunder can continue to build that momentum off of Game 2. And I believe that if the Thunder take Game 3, that completely cuts all the momentum off that the Pacers had from Game 1. You're going to have you took one in OKC, you're coming back to Indiana, you feel good, you're like, it's even, we can win both these games and go up 3-1. But if the Thunder go in there and take Game 3 and just kind of dominate like they did in Game 2, it takes all that momentum away, and now you're on the ropes where if you don't win Game 4 down 2-1, you're going back to OKC down 3-1 in Game 5, and then, I mean, we could all assume what's going to happen in Game 5. I just feel like the Thunder wouldn't lose that, but this is going to be a very intense game. I obviously think Tyrese is going to be more of himself. I think we're going to see a lot of the same from the Thunder. It'll be interesting to see if Wiggins continues to get big minutes and what that looks like. I'm obviously going to go with a Thunder win. I think this is going to be another grind-out game. I think it's going to be more similar to a Game 1. I don't think it's going to be as close. I don't think it's going to be a game-winning shot by any means. But I think it's going to be under 10 points. I don't think the Thunder, there'll be times where they almost get to that 20-point lead, but since the Pacers are at home, they're just going to know how to, their role players are going to play better, and they're going to keep it close. I do think the Thunder come out with about an 8-point win in this and up 2-1 and looking ahead to a possible 3-1 advantage in Game 4. But let me know what you guys think down below on all of these topics, whether it's the Pacers' defense on SGA, whether Tyrese is being more aggressive, who is the third most important player in your opinion on the Thunder. But let me know down below, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.